As a special gift for their wedding, Tim Burton, ever the thoughtful and eccentric friend, arranged a private tour of the Vatican for the couple, creating an experience that was as whimsical as it was unforgettable. Catherine and Beau were guided by a priest who at one point found himself in a hilarious confrontation with another priest. "We were in the Pope's closet looking at garbage," Catherine recalled, laughing. It was one of those surreal, unexpected moments that seemed so out of place, yet perfectly fit the unique nature of their love story. The tour continued with them traveling through the elevator that the Pope himself used to descend into St. Peter's Basilica for Mass. As if the experience weren't already extraordinary enough, it ended in a small, private museum filled with priceless gifts given to the Vatican. Here, the priest mischievously pretended to slip a crown into Beau's backpack while snapping pictures of them, which only added to the eccentric charm of the moment. For Catherine and Beau, it wasn't just about a wedding gift. It was about creating a memory that would last forever, full of laughter and an undeniable connection. Not long after their tour, Catherine and Beau began building a life together, one that was grounded in love, creativity, and family. In 1994, they welcomed their first son, Matthew, followed by their second, Luke, in 1997. While their children were raised in Canada, they later ventured into Hollywood, each finding their own path in the industry, particularly in set dressing and construction. The family bond was strengthened when Matthew and Luke teamed up with their mother during her time on Schitt's Creek. It was a testament to how the O'Hara Welch family had woven their lives together, both personally and professionally. Despite her fame, Catherine was not one to embrace the spotlight on her own. In fact, she admitted to feeling self-conscious when performing solo scenes, revealing in interviews that she much preferred sharing the screen with someone else. It was something she described as her way of not feeling like all the attention was on her. Despite being one of the most beloved actresses of her generation, Catherine had moments of vulnerability and modesty that made her all the more relatable and endearing. After Schitt's Creek became a massive success, it's almost hard to imagine that Catherine was initially hesitant to join the cast. Dan Levy, the show's creator, approached her, but it was only after Catherine was assured that she would have creative input into her character that she agreed to take part. Dan Levy, always supportive of his cast, was more than happy to collaborate with Catherine. The result was the unforgettable Moira Rose, a character so memorable in her eccentricity, her fashion, and her wildly unique accent, all of which were Catherine's contributions. "I explain the voice as souvenirs from all my world travels," Catherine shared, describing Moira's iconic accent. "I've taken a bit from all the people I've met around the world, and I'm sharing it with you." It wasn't just an accent, it was an embodiment of Catherine's experiences, a reflection of her curiosity and open-hearted approach to life. Catherine also made it clear that she wanted Moira's character to have inconsistencies, a layered and multifaceted persona. She didn't want the character to be predictable, and that approach made Moira one of the most unique characters in television history. Eugene Levy, her longtime collaborator and Schitt's Creek co-star, would often have to remind Catherine to stay consistent with the accent, but it was all part of the fun. Catherine's approach to Moira wasn't just about comedy, it was about creating a character who felt deeply real despite her absurdities. It was a perfect blend of humor, heart, and humanity. Beyond her incredible body of work, Catherine's true legacy lives on in her children, her family, and the love that was the foundation of her life. Catherine and Beau built a family full of love and creativity, and their two sons continue to carry on that legacy. The love story that began with a chance encounter on a movie set blossomed into something much larger, with Catherine and Beau building a life together filled with moments that were uniquely their own. Just a month before Catherine's passing, the world said goodbye to another legend, Brigitte Bardot, the French actress and singer who became an international sex symbol before leaving the limelight to focus on animal rights. Bardot, like Catherine, was a woman who lived her life on her own terms, pursuing passion and freedom while rejecting societal expectations. Born in 1934 into a wealthy Parisian family, Bardot's first love was ballet, but it was her undeniable sensuality and fierce independence that caught the world's attention. At just 18 years old, she became the face of a new, liberated femininity, barefoot with fringe-cut hair and an unapologetically sensual image. Bardot's rise to fame was meteoric, and she soon became one of the most iconic figures in the world. But fame, as it often does, came at a great personal cost. Bardot's personal life was just as passionate and tumultuous as her career. She married 4 times and had more than 100 lovers, men and women alike. Her first great love was director Roger Vadim, with whom she defied her parents to be together. Their passionate affair led to a marriage, but even their intense love couldn't withstand the pressures of fame and infidelity, and they divorced in 1957. Bardot's subsequent relationships followed a familiar pattern: intense, passionate, and ultimately fleeting. She always sought something more, something that could consume her, but in the end, it never lasted. In 1992, Bardot's life took a turn when she met Bernard Dormel, a low-profile businessman who offered her the stability she had never truly known. Their marriage, far from the prying eyes of the public, marked a quiet end to the spectacle that had defined her life for so long. It was a simple, intimate relationship, one built on companionship rather than fame or passion. Bardot's final years were marked by a sense of peace that had eluded her for much of her life. For a woman who had spent her entire life running toward passion or away from it, the quiet ending with Bernard was perhaps the most radical choice of all. It was in this simplicity, in this newfound calm, that Bardot found the peace she had always been searching for. And in a way, it was the most fitting way for someone like her, so full of fire and intensity, to say goodbye to the world. As a special wedding gift, Tim Burton, ever the thoughtful and eccentric friend, arranged an unforgettable private Vatican tour for Catherine and Beau, an experience that seemed to transcend the boundaries of ordinary life. Catherine and Beau were whisked away on a journey that felt more like a whimsical dream than reality, surrounded by centuries of history and sacred art. Catherine fondly remembered the day, sharing both humor and laughter in the retelling. "He got yelled at one point," Catherine recalled with a mischievous smile. "We were in the Pope's closet looking at garbage." Her words were a reflection of the playful absurdity that often defined their shared moments. It was a bizarre yet undeniably magical encounter, encapsulating the kind of spontaneity and whimsy that seemed to follow Catherine and Beau wherever they went. The tour, which took them through the sacred hallways and vast rooms of the Vatican, led them to an elevator that only the Pope himself used to descend to St. Peter's Basilica, a truly surreal moment for a couple who had spent their careers surrounded by Hollywood grandeur. But the adventure didn't end there. The tour concluded in a small museum filled with gifts presented to the Vatican, treasures from different corners of the world. Here, the same priest who had been guiding them jokingly pretended to slip a crown into Beau's backpack while taking photographs of the couple. This mischievous little moment felt almost like a scene from a classic comedy, a quirky snapshot in time that perfectly captured the joyous, unexpected magic of their lives together. The moments that Catherine and Beau shared that day were anything but ordinary. They were emblematic of a life built on laughter, surprises, and an undeniable connection between two people who would be together for the long haul. Soon after this unforgettable Vatican experience, Catherine and Beau began to build the foundation of their family. In 1994, their first son Matthew was born, and in 1997, their second son Luke followed. Although their children were raised in Canada, the family's creative roots were firmly planted in Hollywood. Both Matthew and Luke later forged their own paths in the industry, working in set dressing and construction. What is perhaps most remarkable, however, is how they returned to work alongside their mother during her time on Schitt's Creek. This was a rare and beautiful experience, one that showed not only how their careers and passions intertwined, but also how their bond as a family was centered around shared creativity and mutual respect. Catherine's decision to bring her family into the fold of her career wasn't just a matter of convenience. It was a testament to the love and unity they had cultivated, both at home and in the professional world. Despite her fame and widespread admiration, Catherine was not the type to relish the spotlight on her own. In fact, she admitted in interviews that she often felt self-conscious when performing solo scenes. She shared how, as a performer, she preferred to share the stage or screen with someone else, feeling more comfortable when she didn't have to bear the full weight of attention alone. This self-awareness, both endearing and relatable, only deepened the public's affection for her. It's almost impossible to imagine Catherine, one of the most beloved and admired actresses of her gene, ration having moments of uncertainty. After all, when most people think of Schitt's Creek, it's hard not to picture her beloved character, Moira Rose, a delightfully eccentric, fashion-forward, and occasionally dramatic personality who, despite her outrageous qualities, felt so grounded and real. Moira Rose, with her extravagant wardrobe and unique expressions, was iconic, but it was Catherine's heart that made the character truly unforgettable. Despite her incredible success and recognition, Catherine initially hesitated to join the cast of Schitt's Creek when Dan Levy, the show's creator, first approached her. It wasn't until she was told she would have the creative freedom to help shape her character that she agreed to come on board. Catherine was not just looking for a job, she was looking for a project that would allow her to express herself fully. Dan, who was as gracious as he was talented, happily gave her that opportunity. Catherine's influence on the character of Moira Rose was immense. From Moira's over-the-top fashion choices to her wildly unique accent, every element of the character was born from Catherine's own creative vision. In an interview, Catherine explained how she created Moira's distinct voice. "I explain the voice as souvenirs from all my world travels," she shared. "I've taken a bit from all the people I've met around the world, and I'm sharing it with you." Moira Rose's voice, unlike anything heard on television before, was not merely an accent. It was a vivid reflection of Catherine's own experiences, a collection of influences from her travels and interactions with people from all walks of life. This voice wasn't just a manner of speaking. It was a rich tapestry woven from Catherine's deep understanding of the world around her, infused with humor, warmth, and nuance. Catherine's approach to Moira was far more than just an eccentricity for the sake of comedy. It was an authentic reflection of her artistic spirit. Catherine wanted Moira to be inconsistent, unpredictable, just like life itself. "When people try to imitate that character, the mistake most people make is being consistent," Catherine explained. "I'd say, no, don't be consistent. This creative approach made Moira Rose not just a character to laugh at, but a deeply lovable, multidimensional woman, whose quirks felt relatable despite her outlandish behavior. Even Eugene Levy, her longtime collaborator and Schitt's Creek co-star, would have to remind Catherine to stay consistent with the accent. "What's your favorite movie?" he would ask, helping her find her way back into the character's distinctive voice. Catherine's ability to shape Moira's personality, quirks, and voice so effortlessly was a testament to her incredible talent. She didn't just play a character, she became Moira, adding layers of complexity to a role that could have easily been played for laughs alone. Catherine's artistry made Moira one of the most iconic and unforgettable characters in modern television history. Beyond her work on Schitt's Creek, Catherine's legacy endures in her children, in her family, and in the love that shaped her life off-screen. Catherine's devotion to her family was a central part of who she was. The love she shared with Beau was not just a romantic partnership, it was the foundation of everything that she built. Together, they created a life that was not only filled with creative achievements, but with the kind of quiet, steady love that is both rare and precious. Catherine's legacy in many ways is a reflection of the family she built, the love she cultivated, and the genuine care she put into every aspect of her life, whether on screen or behind the scenes. Her death leaves behind a void in the entertainment world, but it also reminds us of the immense beauty that she brought into our lives through her performances, her relationships, and her dedication to her family. Catherine O'Hara's legacy will live on in the hearts of her fans, in the stories she told, and in the way she made everyone feel seen, heard, and loved. Catherine's approach to Moira Rose was nothing short of extraordinary, as she drew from her own life experiences and creative instincts to craft a character that was as multifaceted and unpredictable as life itself. She wanted Moira's voice to reflect the diversity and complexity of the world around her. "When people try to imitate that character, the mistake most people make is being consistent," Catherine explained. "I would say, no, don't be consistent." It was this refusal to be confined by expectations that brought Moira to life in such an original and compelling way. Catherine's influence on the character and on the show itself was immeasurable. She not only transformed Moira into an icon, but also elevated the entire series, turning what could have been a typical sitcom into a rich, layered exploration of family, identity, and love. Even her longtime collaborator, Eugene Levy, would have to remind Catherine when she slipped out of Moira's accent, a testament to her dedication to the role. It was these little details, the accent, the mannerisms, the quirks, that made Moira feel so real and unforgettable. Catherine's commitment to her craft was unwavering, and her ability to create a character so complex yet beloved is a testament to her genius as an actress. Moira Rose wasn't just a character on Schitt's Creek. She was an embodiment of Catherine's artistic vision, shaped by her creativity and her understanding of the world. Beyond her work on Schitt's Creek, Catherine's legacy lives on through the family she built with Beau. Their relationship was a shining example of the power of love, trust, and mutual respect. Catherine and Beau's love story, spanning over 3 decades, was grounded in a deep and abiding affection, one that served as the foundation for their family. Their 2 sons, Matthew and Luke, continue to carry forward the spirit of their mother's creativity, warmth, and talent. Catherine's influence on them, both as an artist and as a mother, will undoubtedly resonate for years to come. The love that Catherine shared with Beau is a testament to what it means to build a life together, not just as partners, but as equals, grounded in trust, mutual support, and a shared commitment to one another. In an ironic twist, just a month before Catherine's passing, the world also lost another legendary figure, Brigitte Bardot. The French actress and singer, who rose to international fame as a sex symbol, made headlines not only for her iconic beauty, but also for her dramatic departure from the film industry to focus on animal rights activism. Bardot, like Catherine, transcended the roles she played in films. While she was undoubtedly remembered as a sex symbol, her legacy is far more nuanced. Bardot was a woman who lived on her own terms, unabashedly chasing passion and freedom, even when it led to heartbreak and public scrutiny. Born into a wealthy Parisian family in 1934, Bardot's first love was ballet. However, it was her striking beauty and unapologetic sensuality that captivated the world, transforming her into the face of a new and bold ideal of femininity. At just 18 years old, she was catapulted into the global spotlight, becoming an icon of freedom and self-expression. Bardot's image was one of liberation, barefoot, with wild, untamed hair and a gaze that seemed to challenge the world. She represented a new type of woman, unafraid to embrace her sexuality and unapologetic about her desires. But as much as Bardot was adored for her beauty, her life was marked by deep emotional complexity. Her personal relationships, often defined by intense passion, were equally turbulent. Over the years, she married 4 times and had over 100 lovers, men and women alike. Despite her many relationships, Bardot was unable to find the stability she longed for. Even in love, she was constantly searching for something deeper, something that would consume her entirely. Yet, no matter how many passionate affairs she had, Bardot was always left feeling unsatisfied, as if she were chasing something that would always remain just out of reach. Bardot's most significant love affair was with director Roger Vadim. The two met when Bardot was just 16 and they became inseparable, defying her family and society to be together. Their love was fiery, wild, and intensely public. However, even their passionate relationship couldn't withstand the pressures of fame and infidelity. They married, but their relationship eventually fizzled out and they divorced in 1957. This would set the tone for many of her future relationships, short-lived and filled with intensity, but ultimately unfulfilling. Bardot's search for deeper meaning in love and life continued throughout her years. She had numerous high-profile relationships, including a tumultuous affair with Jean-Louis Trintignant, her co-star in And God Created Woman. Their chemistry was undeniable, but like the others, their love burned bright and then quickly faded. Bardot, ever in search of something more, walked away from the relationship, seeking the next great passion, but even that was fleeting. She would go on to marry and divorce several more times, never truly finding the balance between love, freedom, and fulfillment. As her life progressed, Bardot shifted her focus away from the limelight and towards her activism, particularly for animal rights. In 1992, Bardot found a new kind of peace with Bernard Dormel, a businessman who offered her the stability she had never experienced before. Their relationship was grounded in quiet companionship, away from the chaos of public life. They married quietly, without the extravagance or scandal that had marked her previous relationships. It was a quiet, grounded life, one that allowed Bardot to reconnect with her estranged son, Nicola, and rebuild the bridges that had been broken over the years. For a woman who had spent her life chasing passion or running away from it, the calm ending with Bernard was perhaps the most radical choice of all. It was in this simple, stable relationship that Bardot found a peace she had never known. After decades of searching for something that would consume her, she finally found solace in the stillness of a life lived away from the spotlight. And in her quiet final years, Bardot's legacy was solidified not just as a sex symbol, but as a woman who, despite all her struggles, learned to embrace peace and stability. Her relationships, while undeniably passionate, were often marred by heartbreak and the inability to find lasting fulfillment. From her first great love with director Roger Vadim to her tumultuous marriage with Gunter Sachs, Bardot's life was a whirlwind of intense emotional highs and devastating lows. Each chapter of her romantic life seemed to burn bright before fading away, leaving her with the same yearning, a hunger for something deeper, something that would completely consume her and offer the stability and meaning she craved. Despite her seemingly endless search for love and fulfillment, Bardot's life took an unexpected and more peaceful turn in 1992 when she met Bernard Dormel, a low-profile businessman who offered her the one thing that had eluded her for so long: stability and tranquility. Bernard, unlike the men before him, was not swept up in the frenzy of fame or the chaos of public life. Their relationship was grounded in simplicity, with a focus on companionship and mutual respect. They married quietly, away from the media's gaze, in a far less extravagant and publicized fashion than Bardot's previous unions. This private union marked a significant departure from her past, where passion and spectacle had always been the driving forces of her relationships. For a woman who had spent her entire life chasing after the next great passion, or running from the emotional fallout of her past loves, this quiet, grounded life with Bernard was perhaps the most radical choice she could have made. She had long been known for her fearless pursuit of desire, her unabashed embrace of life's intensity, but with Bernard, Bardot found peace and simplicity. In her final years, she chose a life of routine, away from the chaos that had so often defined her existence. The woman who had once been the epitome of dramatic passion and unapologetic sensuality now embraced the calm of everyday life, a life not driven by the need for fame, excitement, or constant reinvention, but one that was defined by the quiet joy of companionship. Through Bernard, Bardot found the peace she had so longed for but never quite knew how to hold on to. The life they shared was built on the very foundation that had always seemed out of reach for her: consistency, quiet affection, and a deep, unwavering companionship that provided the balance she had sought for so long. It was in many ways the most unexpected of endings for a woman who had always craved the intense, dramatic highs of love and passion. Yet in this simplicity, Bardot found a profound kind of contentment, choosing to live in a world that was free from the pressures of fame and the emotional chaos of her past. This peaceful chapter of her life, spent in the quiet of her final years, became the truest expression of her strength, the ability to step away from the whirlwind of her past and embrace the calm that had eluded her for so long. In these last years, Bardot had chosen something that spoke more to her spirit than any of the fame or passion that had once defined her. She had chosen peace, and in doing so, she finally found the quiet joy that had been missing for most of her life. And in that stillness, Bardot's life came full circle, not as the world-famous sex symbol or the passionate, unpredictable lover, but as a woman who, after a lifetime of searching, found the one thing she truly needed: inner peace.